Ay, that will I give thee a song, my lovely fellow, quoth the tinker, for I never tasted such ale in all my days before. By Our Lady, it doth make my head hum even now. Hey, dame hostess, come listen, and thou wouldst hear a song, and thou too, you bonny lass, for never sing I so well as when the bright ease do look upon me the while. Then he sung an ancient ballad of time of good King Arthur, called The Marriage of Sir Gawain, which you may sometime read yourself in South English of early times. And as he sung or listened to that noble tale of noble knight and his sacrifice to his king. But long before the tinker came to the last verse, his tongue began to chip and his head to spin because of the strong waters mixed with the ale. First his tongue tripped, then it grew thick of sound, then his hand wagged from side to side, until at last he fell asleep, as thought he never would wake me again. Then Robin Hood laughed aloud and quickly took the warrant from out the tinker's porch with his deft fingers. "Sly art thou, tinker," quoth he, "but not yet. I bow art thou as sly as that same sly thief Robin Hood." Then he called the host to him and said, "Here, good man, are 10 borrowed shillings for the entertainment that you've given us this day. See that thou takest good care of thy fair guest there, and then he workest, thou mayest again change him 10 shillings also, and if he hath it not, thou mayest take his bag and hammer, and even his coat in payment. Thus do I punish those that came into the greenwoods to deal dole to me. As for thine own self, never knew I landlord yet that would not charge twice as he could." At this the host smiled slyly, as though saying to himself, the rustic saw teacher a magpie to suck eggs. The tinker slept until the afternoon drew to a close, and the shadows grew long beside the woodland edges. Then he awoke. First he looked up, then he looked down, then he looked east, then he looked west, for he was gathering his wits together, like barley straws blown apart by the wind. First he thought of his merry companion, but he was gone. Then he thought of his stout crabstaff, and then he had within his hand. Then of the warrant, and of the 80 angels he was to gain for serving it upon Robin Hood. He thrust his hand into his pouch, but not a scrap nor a farthing was there. Then he sprang to his feet in a rage. "O landlord," cried he, "whither hath that knave gone that was with me but now?" "That knave? Meaneth your worship?" quoth the landlord, calling the tinker worship to soothe him, as a man would pour oil upon angry water. "I saw no knave with your worship, for I saw no man would dare call that man knave, so nigh to Sherwood Forest. A right stout yeoman I saw with your worship, but I thought that your worship knew him, for few there be about here that pass him by and know him not. Now how should I, that ne'er have squealed in your stead? Now all the swine therein. Who was he, then, and thou knewest him so well?" "Why, your same is a right stout fellow, whom men hereabouts call Robin Hood, which same—" "Why, Bry Lady," cried the tinker hastily, and in a deep voice like an angry bull, "thou didst me come into thine inn, a stanch, honest craftsman, and never told me who my companion was, well knowing thine own self who he was. Now I have a right round piece of mind to crack the kneast paid for thee." Then he took up his cudgel and looked at the landlord as though he would smite him where he stood. "Nay," cried the host, throwing up his elbow, "for he fears the blow. How he knew I that those newest him not?" "Well, and truly thankful mayest thou be," quoth the tinker, "that I be a patient man, and so do spare thy bold crown. Else wouldst thou ne'er cheat customers again. For as for the same knave Robin Hood, I go straight away to seek him, and I do not score him knaves paid. Cut my stuff from faggots, and call me a woman." So saying, he gathered himself together to depart. "Nay," quoth the landlord, standing in front of him, holding out his arms like a goose shepherd driving his flock, for money made him bold. "Thou goest not till hast paid me my score." "But did not he pay thee?" "Not so much as 1 farthing, and 10 good shillings worth of ale he drunk this day. Nay, I say, thou goest not away without paying me, else shall our good sheriff know of it." "But nought have I paid to thee with, good fellow," quoth the tinker. "Good fellow, not me," said the landlord. "Good fellow am I not, when I cometh to lose 10 shillings. Pay me that thou owest me in broad money, or else leave thy coat and bag and hammer. Yet I wot they are not worth 10 shillings, and I shall lose thereby. Nay, an thou steerest, I have a good dog within, and I will loose him up unto thee." Making upon thou the dog, and left forth Britain as his fellow stir 1 step. "Nay," quoth the tinker, for by roaming the country he had learned what dogs were. "Take thou what thou wilt have, and let me depart in peace, and may a murrain go with thee. But, O landlord, an I catch yon scurry velvet, I swear he shall pay with usury for that he hath had." So saying, he strode away towards the forest, talking to himself, while the landlord and his worthy dame and maiden stood looking after him, and laughed when he had fairly gone. "Robin and I stripped yearness of his pack main neatly," quoth the landlord. Now it happened about this time that Robin Hood was going through the forest to force a way, to see what was to be seen there. For the moon was full, and the night gave promise of bright. In his hand he carried his stout oaken staff, and at his side hung his bundle horn. As those he walked upon the path, whistling down another path came the tinker, muttering to himself and shaking his head like an angry bull. And so, at a sudden bend, then met sharply face to face. Each stood still for a time, and then Robin spoke. "Holla, my sweet bird," said he, laughing merrily. "How likest thou thine ale? Wilt not sing to me another song?" The tinker, saying nothing at first, but stood looking at Robin with a grim face. "Now," quoth he at last, "I am right glad I have met thee, and if I do not rattle thy bones within thee hide stay, I'll give thee leave to put my foot upon my neck." "With all my heart," cried merry Robin. "Rattle my bones on thou canst." So saying, he gripped his staff and threw himself upon the guard. Then the tinker spat upon his hands, and grasping his staff, came straight at the other. He struck 2 or 3 blows, but soon found that he had met his match, for Robin warded and parried all of them, and before the tinker thought, he gave him a rap upon the ribs in return. At this Robin laughed aloud, and the tinker grew more angry than ever, and smote again with all his might and main. Again Robin warded 2 of the strokes, but at the third his staff broke beneath the mighty blows of the tinker. "Now I'll betide thee, tailor's staff," cried Robin, as it fell from his hands. "A fool's stick art thou to serve me thus in my hour of need." "Now yield thee," quoth the tinker, "for thou art my captive, and if thou do not, I will beat thy pate to a pudding." To this Robin made no answer, but clapping his horn to his lips, he blew these blasts loud and clear. "Aye," quoth the tinker, "blows thou mayest, but go thou must you with me to Nottingham town, for the sheriff will fain see thee there. Now wilt thee hear thee, or shall I have to break thy pretty head?" "And I must drink sour ale, I must," quoth Robin, "but never have I yielded me to a man before, and that without wound or mark upon my body. Nor when I bethink me, will I yield now. Ho, my merry man, come quickly." Then from out the forest leaped Little John and 6 stout yeomen clad in Lincoln green. "How now, good master," cried Little John, "what needest hast thou that thou dost wind thy horn so loudly?" "There standeth the tinker," quoth Robin, "that would fain like take me to Nottingham, there it should be hanged to the gallows tree." "Then shall he himself hang forthwith," cried Little John, and he and the others made at the tinker to seize him. "Nay, touch him not," said Robin, "for a right stout man is he. A metal man he is by trade, and a metal man by nature. Moreover, he doth sing a lovely ballad. Say, good fellow, wilt thou join my merry man at all? 3 suits of Lincoln green shalt thou have a year, besides 40 marks in fee. Thou shalt share all with us, and let a right merry life in the greenwoods, for cares have we not, and misfortune cometh not upon us with the sweetest shades of Sherwood, where we stood the dun deer, and fed upon virgins, and sweetest oaten cakes, and cradle and honey. Wilt thou come with me?" "Aye, marry, will I join you all," quoth the tinker, "for I love a merry life, and I love thee, good master, thou didst twackle my ribs and cheat me into the bargain. Fain am I to own thou art both a stouter and a sleer man than I, so I will obey thee and be thine own true servant." So all turned their steps to the forest depths, where the tinker was to live henceforth. For many a day he sang ballads to the band, until the famous Allen O'Dale joined them, before whose sweet voice all others seemed as harsh as the raven's, but of him we will learn hereafter.